David Gibson lost with a score of 444 to 484 to Ian Weinstein. And Mac Miller won with a score of 430 to 409 against Rafi Stern. So currently, David Gibson stands at 22-5. Remember, we have 4 games to go. 22-5. He holds a 2-game lead over Ian Weinstein, who has 20-7. And then another 2 games back are Mac Miller, Joel Sherman, and Ori Swift. Mac Miller having the highest spread, therefore he's in 3rd place. And that is why David is playing Mac right now. David needs to win. Well, it always helps if you win all of your game, but he has not sewn it up. There are 4 games to go, and he only has a 2-game lead. So he has some winning to do.
So David Gibson has a kind of clunky rack here to start things off, and after Mac's play he has Sinuate and Antes on his rack.
Mac is one of our Wunderkinds who came to us with his voice still unchanged. Always showed incredible promise right from the beginning. I know his parents, who still accompany him as he's underage, despite the beard, he's still underage. Wonderful, wonderful, supportive parents who clearly love him very much and take him around to different tournaments in order to show their support for him. And he's consequently a very, very stable, lovely, and obviously intelligent young man. We love having him with us.
David Gibson needs an open E for Terpenol if he were to get that from Mac Miller. Assuming Mac chooses to play Antes in one of several spots, David Gibson will not get that E that he needs, but if Mac were to choose Sinuate, then he would get it. But no, Mac is going for Antes, so David Gibson will not get Terpenol.
Don't you love it when that works out just the way you're supposed to let it work out? That's right. If he had played it elsewhere. All right. So TILNOPR. Terpenol and Pleotron are the only 2 bingos in that rack. He might play Lip and Antes. Lipo. Lipo to the right of Antes is an option, saving the very nice NTR. Early in the game, you shouldn't worry too much about not balancing your rack in terms of vowels. There are so many vowels left. Lipo scores very well, saves NTR, which are beautiful. Pick a couple of vowels and you're off to the races. 30 points for Lipo. Or Lipo, I guess.
It's also worth looking at options with Sext and Mir, perhaps, MIR, so TR words like trip or trop. Well, that'd be trop if you go with the French word, but...
Let's see what... Okay, without doing any iterations, Lipo comes up first, followed by Sext, MIR, trop, to make Mir, and TROP, trop. Which of course takes an E, so that's a little dangerous. He can also just play Tropin, TROPIN, which also takes an E. But it would allow him to score well and greater chance of picking one of the S's or blanks or high point tiles.
So David Gibson's going with pot here.
All right.
I'm not sure what that one's for. I think he probably could have done better than that.
Yeah, not my choice. But he's definitely creating a lane for himself. And David Gibson has 46 points. I'm sure that'll get put up very quickly. You know, these Scrabble racks have gotten so long. It's harder and harder to see the tiles. Okay, he's clearly got nothing. This is definitely a rack that you... Yeah, he's looking at Gringo, it looks... Oh, or at least that's what I see when I look at his rack and through that... through the N. Gyro, I'm not exactly sure. He definitely has an ing. Gyro. Oh, there. That's what he's thinking of. He's thinking of playing to the right of pot gyro to make pior and sexto, which is a really nice thought.
Yeah, that's a great play.
Now it takes an N, and he doesn't have one on his rack, sexton, but still a lovely play. Scores a lot, undoubles everything he needs to. It's a perfect play. Love it.
David Gibson does have that N to make a sexton play, but so far not seeing anything.
He's got two eyes.
With the letters he has that would allow for a decent scoring play using the sexton option. He could play Linny through the N and antes as a decently scoring play.
I hate the IR though, don't you? Hate saving IR. I mean, if you have to, you have to, but I hate it. If he was playing Collins, since we're just, he'd be able to play Liney to the right of Antes because NY is good, and that would be worth a ton of points.
Nurley as well would be a nice option to get rid of his letters, but in this book, he's got no clear option that does everything.
He Nurley
perfectly.
has it. Well, we might be seeing something like yin to the right of pi and the G. Linny is what's coming up on Quackle. Or yin in the same, to the right of Antes is another possibility. And let's see what's happening on CSW. If they've started their game. In this we have Evans Clinchy against Tim Weiss. And I'm sure Evans started with index because he's got that on his opening rack, and he does.
So Linny does go down. Good scoring option here.
And on CSW, Collins, right now, with it being his turn, Evans is up 95 to 80. So a nice tight game to start. Linny goes down, excellent. Agrotef. It's always interesting to see how people put down the tiles on their rack. They, obviously he's got Fagateur, which he might be being too polite to put down in that order. And frottage through a T. A frontage was just, it was blocked, but he couldn't have played it because gyro was in the way. Foot gear. So I don't think he's got anywhere to play. If Sextor was good, it would fit. So he might just choose to play something like of underneath Linny, under the LI, saving Gator, which is a lovely save. But this board is very quickly not becoming that nice. You need an S for Emu. You need as well an N for Sexton. Or an S. He doesn't have either. He might choose to just play of next to the A in Antes for 26 points. That's certainly a very reasonable choice. Leaving the LI open for his very nice rack. He could play Fog to the right of Gyro and make Pig and Go, saving Rate, which is even better. But again, he doesn't have really anything to... If he plays Fog, then he can't really do anything off Pig because he doesn't have an S right now. And we see that David has a mitt full of E's.
He'd love to see a C for cheesier would be the most ideal, but of course Mac does not have a C on his rack, so he's not going to be getting that.
Well, he also has, let's see, Sheenier, Heresies. Nothing that he can play, though. Etherize. Hexerize. That's a great word. Hexerei, which actually takes an S as well.
I don't even know how to pronounce that one. I know it's just a noun that refers to witchcraft, so I would think like hexery or something, but we don't usually
Do we know
pay
what
attention.
hexerei means? And I'm probably pronouncing it wrong.
I believe it's just witchcraft in general is what it
Okay.
refers to, so my guess would be hexery, but we don't know. All we have to know is that they work as words.
So it's related to hex. I never knew
Yes.
that. There you go.
Mac is still thinking for a little bit longer about playing of. Looks like he's finally pulled
Yep.
the trigger on it.
All right. Quacko agrees.
David Gibson is in great shape to win this event. The winner of this event getting a $10,000 first prize, so it's a pretty nice little paycheck if you can pull this one off.
David has a history of being very generous with his prize money. At least once, and I think twice, actually, I know of, that he has taken his prize money and actually sent to other participants who were not in the money some of his prize money to share the wealth around a bit. That's the kind of gentleman he is. All right. So David's continuing to groom his rack and to try to score some points without blocking a place where he can actually play himself. Remember, he's the only one right now who has an S. And is that EV at the end of Mac's rack?
It is, yes.
Okay.
It's interesting to compare this play of A and Fa, for example, compared to high H-I-E, G-I, and P-I-E, which would be a comparative play, but this one that Gibson's chosen doesn't offer anything so easy back to the opponent in terms of the amount of points to be scored, and I would say that ties in as well with his style of play.
Yeah, if Mac had picked up an IV instead of an EV, he would have had ergative off that E, which would have been a very nice gift. And the kind of things that happened to David and to David Gibson and David Elder all day today. It would be nice if it could go the other way sometimes, occasionally. Let's see what he can do. It's a lovely, it's a hard rack to break up because it has such great potential. And it's not like there's so many great places on the board for him to score. He can't play to the right of gyro. He doesn't have anything that will go off the G. He doesn't have an I or an O. So it seems what makes the most sense is, and considering he's ahead, is to play near the LI and Linny. Whether it's vet on top of it or vat on top or below of it. Certainly more blocking would be playing vat on top or veg.
And resiled.
And that's what he's played. There you go.
At the very least, David Gibson has resiled underneath of emu.
Okay, and he picks a bingo. Well, that's actually all he has. Although he does have a 9-letter bingo off or through the EL. Can anyone figure that out? It is elderlies. Now, we think of elderly normally as an adjective, and that's something you'll see in Scrabble quite a bit, or something where you perceive to be something that is not a verb or wouldn't take an S, for example, actually is. And this is an example of it. In this case, elderly is actually a noun, as in the elderly, I guess. And down comes resiled, which is the best play. someone of David's caliber will